Today we're going to take a look at Marada the She-Wolf by Chris Claremont and John Bolton. This is a deluxe hardcover. It's oversized. This collects material from Marvel's Epic magazine, where that was Marvel's attempt in the early 80s to be like a sort of a higher end heavy metal. That's what that magazine looked like. This is one of the issues that has material in this hardcover, and you can see the size. Still a little bit oversized from the original, which is really nice. And if we compare it to a comic book, you can see it's quite a bit larger. Of course, Claremont's best known for his 16 years plus on the Uncanny X-Men, all the great stuff he did there. He's well known for powerful females, powerful independent females. And he was doing that long before Joss Whedon created Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And of course, with Claremont, he never had the fall from grace and the cancellation of all the stuff that came out on Joss. John Bolton may be known to some of you for the backup strips he illustrated for Claremont's Uncanny X-Men in the classic X-Men, where they reprinted a lot of the Uncanny stuff that had become way too pricey for a lot of people to ever own. Of course, that was before we had the omnibuses and all that. This story is a little odd because it's sort of in the vein of Robert E. Howard's Red Sonja and stuff like that, but she doesn't wear a silly chainmail bikini. There's none of that. A lot of people are turned off by that, so that's great. Another odd thing about it is Claremont set this instead of in medieval times, which most of heroic fantasy and sword and sorcery is set, he set it in ancient times, so the era right before that. In fact, he talks about it in the beginning of this collection, and he said that he set it during the, see if I get this pronounced right, Pax Romana, which is the Roman peace. So it was the era after all the battles and wars that the Roman Empire fought to extend their empire across the world, but before the fall of Rome. And as he puts here, he says, her mother was the firstborn of Caesar, her father a prince in his own right, but a slave in Rome. So it seems like he put a lot of thought into the setting and getting lots of little details right about geography and whatnot. So that makes it even weirder that the main characters all have a fight with a curved sword. A curved sword.
You see those warriors from Hammerfell? They've got curved swords. Curved swords.
I mean, I'm not saying there weren't any curved swords in ancient times in that part of the land. I mean, there were a few. I'm sure Scholagrim and Shadiversity would list the ones that they had, but it's certainly not a common choice. And you'd think if he was paying that much attention to detail, that he would call out the fact that she's using a curved sword in a time where, in a place where not many people did. But that's a pretty small nit to pick. But that's what I like to do, and I like swords, so, you know. But regardless of those small problems, and there's a couple others, like there's a lot of this material is colored for the first time. In the Epic magazine was color and black and white, so some of it was in color, some of it was black and white. Well, this is all colored, and it looks beautiful. You can look at some of the scans here. I'll put up here. But there's a couple little weird gaps where, like the description box will read, he had his crimson cloak, and the cloak is colored blue. I'm like, how does this happen? How does this happen in something that's been edited so many times and collected and reprinted? I don't know. But again, it's a small thing. The story's great if you like sword and sorcery and you like, there's lots of wizards and magic and battles with demons, stuff like that. And it's great. It feels a little unfinished. I wish it was longer. It's 96 pages, but that's all the material they ever did. So that's what we got. But what we got is beautiful art. John Bolton, he's sort of like a cross between Dave Stevens, Frank Frazetta, Bernie Wrightson. He's kind of in that vein of really hyper-realistic art. All the panels are rendered just completely. It's beautiful. You can take a look here. And that ultimately is why you want to get it. I mean, you want to see Chris Claremont take on a genre that he's not known for, and that's great. But the John Bolton art sells it. This is just beautiful. I wish it was bigger. Wish it was thicker. I wish it had more of a satisfying ending. It just kind of stops. But it's good. What we got is really good. He did another series that was Chris Claremont, John Bolton on art, same team on Black Dragon, which was also a sword and sorcery thing, and that ran in Epic Magazine, and I think it's collected in a similar volume. This is by Titan Books. I think it came out in 2013. But anyway, I wish I have a feeling the Black Dragon collection is going to be real thin, just like this one. So I kind of wish they'd put them together. That would have been an awesome volume to have both of them together. But anyway, I'm going to try to get that at some point. As far as getting it, at the time of this, I can only find this thing on Amazon, which is not my preferred vendor, that's for sure. But it's a $24.99 cover, and it's super well worth it. And of course, you'll get it a little cheaper than that on Amazon. But as far as the build quality, it's pretty nice. It's a solid hardcover. I only see one real issue with it, and that is, if you can see here, it has kind of a bow in the cover. But unlike most hardcovers that have a bow, it actually bows inward, which I kind of like that. It's much better than the opposite. And you could probably bend this and fix it if you really wanted to, but I'm okay with that much curvature. And you can see it right there pretty good. But it held up really good, and it lies completely flat. It's nice. I plan on doing one of these reviews every week, forever. If you got something particular that you know I have and you want it reviewed, if you put it in the comments, I might get to it. I'm going to put a link down below in the doobly-doo to my whole collection that's online. It's in their comic collector with the software there in the cloud database. So you can bring that up and you can see all the comic books in my collection. It's over 3,000. Of course, it's only comics. It's not the prose books or anything like that, or not many of the art books are in there either, but all the comic books are in there. Of course, if it's stuff that just came out in the last year or so, or that I obtained in the last year or so, I may not have read it yet. So you just have to try and let me know what you think. As far as ratings go, I do things a little bit different. To me, everything starts out as a 10. I use a star rating, 10 stars. Everything starts out as perfect, and then I have to find reasons why it's not perfect. And I just remove stars until I feel like I'm where it should be. And on this one, even despite a few problems, a few little minor gaffes, and the sort of incompleteness of it overall, it's still a solid 9. This is 9 stars. This is a great volume. I love it. Highly recommend it. Oh, and it is 112 pages, not 96 like I said earlier. It's 112. So a little better.